Okay, we have roll call.
Mayor West.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Neal.
Present.
Councilmember Durio.
Here.
Councilmember Getz.
Present.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Felshaw.
Present.
And Councilmember Samuel.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. City Manager, we're going to go back and do the reading of item number 1, please.
Council to consider resolution correcting wording in resolution 24-311. And it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 1?
I so move for approval.
Is there there is a motion and a second for approval of item number 1. Is there any discussion? Councilman Getz.
A few weeks ago, this council took up for consideration the matter of compensation of the executive staff. By a 4-3 vote, certain compensation was approved. The matter that's before us today is not to change the effect of that vote. This that we're considering right now does not change that at all. What it does do is clean up and clarify some language that explains better what the result of that vote was. So in other words, I'm not changing my vote on the compensation that I made a few weeks ago, but I will vote in favor of clarifying the language with this resolution.
Any other discussion, Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councilmember Getz's comments, but to clarify that, does this need to be an addendum to the existing or the original resolution?
So when we amend resolution, this becomes resolution, the original resolution stands, this will just be an A. So it actually becomes an attachment to that resolution. So there, if someone was to search it, they would see both resolutions along with the correction.
Councilman Turner?
I want to state for the record, on October 25th, 2022, we had a 7-0 vote, including council members on this council, and the language was the same and it was approved on October 1. And October 10th, 2023, the language was the same as well, and it was a 6-1 vote and it was effective October 1. What I would recommend is in the future, we do evaluations prior to October 1.
Councilman Durio?
I just wanted to add, the compensation for the manager was a 2% raise, and we added additional monies to his 457 retirement plan. He did not get a $30,000 raise prior to what's, contrary to what's being said on social media. That is exactly what happened. 2% raise and money was added to his 457.
So just to clarify, no one received a raise. Everyone received a cost of living increase, which is a term of art. Raises and cost of living increases are two different things. Raises are based on merit. Cost of living is just something that's calculated by finance to be adjusted for inflation, the increase in insurance costs, and so forth. So no one received a raise.
Councilman Getz?
Madam Attorney, on this, I'm going to have to push back and disagree some. There is a big difference between someone that is getting a 2% bump that is in a 6-figure salary compensation package versus someone that is a sanitation truck driver making $50,000 a year or so. That is, light years apart. So call it a cost of living allowance if you like, but 2% on top of $250,000 or $262,500, that's a significant difference in number of dollars.
I don't disagree. However, I was just pointing out that what was budgeted for was a 2% cost of living increase for all full-time employees, and that was what was given to executive staff. That executive staff, by resolution, did not receive a raise.
Call for the question. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Councilman Felshaw?
And again, just for clarity, so the public will understand my position, my vote for the compensation package has not changed. But as Councilman Getz said, I do support cleaning up this language for the purpose of clarity And I commend our legal department for taking action and bringing this to our attention and clarifying this and cleaning this up. Thank you, Mayor.
And Mayor, and I just want to add on, again, for the city attorney, thank you. You did what you're hired to do, and you did a great job. I appreciate that.
All right, all in favor of approving item 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 2?
Thank you, Mayor. Council consider resolution accepting maintenance of the street, storm sewer, water, and sanitary sewer improvements in Windermere subdivision, section 5, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 2?
You read item number 1, I think, or 2.
I read 3. I'm sorry. I read 3. I'm sorry, Mayor. Let me go back to 2.
Sure did.
Got too many pages there. Let's go back to 2.
So now we'll do item number 2. Thank you, Councilman.
Okay. The Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau is seeking authorization to apply for the Tourism Friendly Texas program through the Office of the Governor during the Tourism Friendly designation for the city, and it comes with the recommendation of approval.
All right, now is there a motion for item number 2?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Durio, then Councilman Getz. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, now may we have the reading of item number 3?
Now, number 3. Council consider resolution accepting maintenance of the street, storm sewer, water, and sanitary sewer improvements in Windermere subdivision, section 5, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 3?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 3. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 4?
Council consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute related documents to acquire property located at 1599 Pine and 727 through 735 Catalpa Street. And it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 4?
So move for approval. Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 4. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 5, please?
Council consider resolution authorizing the city manager to award a contract to Bryce Star Contracting Inc. of Beaumont for the Cattail Marsh Levee Emergency Repair Project. And it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 5?
Move to approve. Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 5. Is there any discussion? Councilman Durio.
Yeah, this emergency repair, is this a damage, is it a leak out there or something?
I'm going to yield to Mike Harris, who's over the sewer plant.
So actually, Councilman Maduro, it's not a leak. It's actually one of the levees in between cell 1 and Hillebrand Bio. The levee has actually slipped and fell, and we're trying to get it repaired before it does slip all the way out and allow the treated wastewater to leak over in Hillebrand Bio.
So it's not currently leaking into the
Not
pipe?
currently leaking, no. We're trying to catch it before it does.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you. All in favor of approving item number 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 6?
Council consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 11 to the contract with Alco LLC of Beaumont for the Colliers Ferry Pump Station project. And it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 6?
Move to approve.
Is there a second for approval?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 6. Is there any discussion? Councilman Getz and then Councilman Philshaw.
Bart, can you tell us why we're having to do this change order? What things have happened to necessitate these changes?
Yes, sir. I'm going to hand out a summary of the change orders for this project as it's rather large and, it's more complex than other projects. And I'll give you a summary while that's going around. The project was originally awarded for $25,088,259 on April 26, 2022. The contract started June 27th, 2022, and we're currently scheduled for completion in July 24, 2025. It's important to note on this project that FEMA's paying 90% of the project. TDM, or Texas Department of Emergency Management, is paying 7.5% of the project. The city's paying 2.5% of the project. So this is the paper that's going around right now gives you a concise summary of the 11 change orders that have taken place, what's within their scope, the monetary amount, and whether the days have changed on it. So there's 11 change orders, including this one, that total $1,493,125.36, or 5.95% of the contract award. One thing that's very important to note on this is the largest amount of change order was in change order number 4, which was $1,319,944. So of all the change orders we've put through, change order number 4 was almost 89%, 88.4% of the total amount. The reason why that's important to note is if you look at change order number 4, we moved a portion of the 48-inch raw water pipeline from its project into this Colliers Ferry Pump Station project. So that was done primarily to allow for better coordination of the pipe construction along with alignment of the new access road to the pump station. But also important to the city is that this project is fully funded by FEMA, and the raw water pipeline had a significant funding gap on it. So by moving that $1.3 million, we've moved that money into FEMA funding on this project, which is a significant financial benefit to the city. The current change order number 11, reduces the contract amount by $77,297.10. And the primary reason this is a reduction overall, despite there being a number of items for this change order, is that we have changed the road structure specifications for this section to match the rest of Pine Street. So the specifications were too complex. They were basically building a TxDOT highway rather than a residential road. And so with those reductions in cost out of there, even adding the tree removal, the additional drainage of the 3x2 box culvert, and the 4-inch raw water line, the flange spacer, we're still $77,000 under. So I think it's important to note that it is a complex project. This goes over a number of years with a large amount of money, but it's being very well managed, and we have a very small percentage overall that we're dealing with here.
Thank you.
Councilman Philshaw, do you have a question?
I'm good.
All right. With that, all those in favor of approving item number 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 7?
Council consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 8, accept maintenance and authorize final payment to ProPipe Inc. of Irvine, California for the sewer evaluation work order contract Phase 4. And it comes with the recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 7?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 7. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 7, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 8?
Council consider a resolution, authorizing an agreement to apply for available federal tax credits for the municipal transit use of CNG fuel. And it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 8?
Move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 8. Is there any discussion? Councilman Felshaw?
City Manager, I'm just curious. I'm assuming something like this can be a little convoluted. I know this company will get 25% of any rebate that we get. I'm assuming this is something that we can't do in-house to save that 25%.
Timmy, go ahead.
As far as in-house, I'll have to yield to finance, but they approached us with this. It's a program, essentially the alternative fuel excise tax credit. They approached us with this and they extended the program from 2021 to 2024. So we're trying to get the credits for 2021 and submit those by December 31st. In order to do those, we've looked into contracting with them. But as far as finance being able to file, I would have to yield to them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 9?
Council consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute related documents to acquire property known as Steve Drive, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 9?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Second. There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 9. Is there any discussion? Councilman Turner?
Mr. Barkoviac, can you kind of explain like the reasoning why and the benefit behind this project?
So Steve Street is a small street off of Pine that's been a source of citizen complaints for many years, but unfortunately, we've never been able to do anything about it because it's a privately owned street. And what we thought was because of the number of properties along that street that it was subdivided into a whole bunch of little pieces that the city would have to obtain. Looking further into it, we were able to discern that the entirety of the street was actually a separate parcel that was owned by a brother and sister. So we were able to then negotiate with them and obtain the agreement that we could acquire that property from them. But garbage trucks navigate this street. It's in terrible repair. We can't legally go in and do anything to it. So after we acquire it, we intend to use internal resources with streets and drainage and pave it with our heavy materials budget, and then that'll fix the problem of the navigation of those garbage trucks down the street. And I think Councilman Samuel can probably speak to this. This is probably extended over a decade worth of time that we've struggled with this particular issue.
Thank you.
Councilman Getz?
So help me understand, are we saying that when there's some privately owned streets out there that are in poor shape, the city is prepared to purchase those streets and then use taxpayer resources to fund them and bring them up to standards? Is that what we're doing now?
We're proposing that we acquire the property just because of the difficulty we've had with it over the years. I know we've addressed different spots in the city in different ways, but we do own the water and sewer through this area. We're responsible for the drainage in this area. In this particular case, it is only the street that had remained private due to the way this thing was laid out years ago.
Any other questions? All those in favor of approval of item number 9, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 10?
Council consider granting a new solid waste transportation service agreement with Superior Waste Solutions and recommendation of approval of the ordinance. It's actually an ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 10?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 10. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilman Durio.
So I noticed, I guess the next few ordinances or items are about the same, the next 4. Somebody explain what these actually are?
Yes, sir. These are for sanitation companies that are collecting garbage and things in the city of Beaumont, and they have to pay a percentage of the revenue to the city for using our landfills and things like that. So
These are like for private
Yes, sir.
companies that don't get trash pickup from the city,
yes, sir.
like picking up dumpsters and stuff like that?
Yes, sir, like Waste Management, BFI Republic, those type of organizations.
All right.
But it's also for like subdivisions that have private trash collection. There's a couple behind Westbrook that just have their own private trash collection, and those individuals have to dump at the city landfill, and they're required to have a franchise agreement.
All right.
So they're large-scale companies like Republic and Waste Management, and then smaller companies that just do it privately for private subdivisions.
And I guess they pay 7% of their gross receipts is paid to the city?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of approving item number 10, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 11?
Council consider granting a new solid waste transportation service agreement with Hotchkiss Disposal Services Limited and recommendation approval of the ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 11?
Move to approve.
There is a second. There's a motion and a second for approval of item number 11. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 11, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 12?
Thank you, Mayor. Council consider granting a new solid waste transportation service agreement with GFL Plant Services LP, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 12?
So move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval of item number 12. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 13?
Council consider an ordinance to amend sections 28.03.023 and 28.04.008 of the City of Beaumont's Code of Ordinances, and it comes with the recommendation of approval of the ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 13?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of item number 13. Is there any discussion? Councilman Getz.
So one of the things that I would like to inquire about with regard to uses of businesses in the central business district, and Councilman Turner and I have talked about this before. We have from time to time people that come up and want to create a venue which could have loud music that could negatively impact residences. In the central business district, I think we already have an entertainment district within the central business district. Can we clarify that the noise requirements do not apply to businesses in the central business district, or how does that work?
I would need to research it a little bit to make sure. But as I know of it, that it's the rules or the noise ordinances still apply. But I would need to research that, and I can definitely get back to you guys on that. As far as establishing entertainment districts within the city, I think a good route to do that is through our comprehensive plan process. And right now we're working with the GLO to hopefully be awarded a grant so that we can take on that process. But I do think that entertainment districts are a very good idea, and we need to look at those closely.
I think I agree with you, and I think it would be helpful to go ahead and try to get these designated as soon as possible so that we don't continue to run into these problems with entrepreneurs, people wanting to come out and develop something, for nightlife and to offer places for people to go and enjoy themselves without having to worry about whether they will be offending their neighbors with loud music and noise. So let's try to proceed if we can on that.
Councilman Turner.
Yes, we've kind of been talking about this for a few weeks, and I actually sent the follow-up email on yesterday because I've seen it successful in other cities where you don't want our entrepreneurs who are investing into the community with their tax dollars, their sales tax, feuding with, the property owners who are investing with property tax. So I think if we can kind of look at a way to, maybe expedite or identify the areas that already have these venues, and we can really create this entertainment district, because I'm seeing a consistent trend and a problem where neighborhood bars are not good for neighborhoods. And I want to make sure we're fair to the investors as well as the neighbors. So I think this is a great way that we can get ahead of this.
Yes, sir.
There's no other discussion. All those in favor of approving item number 13, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 14?
Council, consider a request for a specific use permit to allow a duplex in an RS, residential single-family dwelling district, for property located at 6795 Highway 105. And at a joint public hearing on November 25th, 2024, the Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to approve with the following conditions. 1, construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow, pre-treatment, and our fall program. And 2, construction plans should comply with all applicable fire and building code requirements.
Is there a motion for item number 14?
Move to approve with the conditions.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 14. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 14, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. May we have the reading of item number 15, please?
Council, consider a request to amend the conveyance and dedication of private streets and infrastructure to the city of Beaumont. And it was approved in a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission with the following condition. A plat produced by a licensed surveyor must be submitted to the planning office prior to final acceptance of the streets and infrastructure.
Is there a motion for item number 15?
Move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 15. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 15, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. City Manager, would you please take us into the public hearing?
Yes, Mayor. Council to conduct a public hearing on the finding and ratifying the determination of the Public Health Director that the public health nuisances exist on the property at McFadden HCS, LTS 11-13, TR2, LTS 14 and 15, TR1, B27 for the property owned by 606 Harold LLC.
All right, the public hearing is now open, and I think we're going to have a presentation by our Public Health Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, this is one of the properties that was brought before you last council meeting, and we had to recall it because it wasn't posted correctly, so we bring it back to you again. We've been in touch with the property owner since then. He has promised to clean up the property, but as you can see in the pictures, he has not made any attempts to clean up the property, so we're bringing it back before you this day.
Is there anybody here also to speak?
I don't have anyone, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I will, unless anybody has any questions. All right, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 16.
Council to consider finding and ratifying the determination of the Public Health Director that public health nuisances exist on the property at McFadden HCS LTS 11-13, TR2, LTS 14 and 15, GR1, B27. It comes with the recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion for item number 16?
Move to approve.
Is there a second for their approval?
Second.
Any discussion on item number 16? All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, would you take us into the work session?
Review and discuss the downtown proactive code enforcement update. We have Mr. Bo Hanson here to speak with us.
Good afternoon, council, staff. Good to be with you. Thank you for your time today. As always, I will try to be as concise as possible. Today's downtown update will be presented a bit different than previous updates I've given to you guys. I still have all the addresses for you to see individually where they stand, but our interactions with property owners and the data has begun to tell a compelling story that we want to share with you today. Next slide, please. So this slide has 9 different owners represented. That is 9 of the 14 total. And each of them we have had great ongoing conversations with. And that's the story for everyone who we've had at least 2 or more meetings with. That's not to say they haven't experienced any frustrations, but it is to say that we feel like we have a great working relationship with these property owners, and they are communicating well with us in return through this process. And honestly, I want to take a moment just to publicly thank them for working so well with us through this proactive enforcement that we've been doing, and working together as a team to make downtown as safe as possible. I'm going to circle back to the vacant building registry, but first you'll notice no charges are being filed on any of these owners, which would be indicated by a yellow bullet point. Some are in full compliance, some are in temporary compliance, which means they are temporarily boarded and secured, and some are in partial compliance, but these owners are making progress, and again, more importantly, communicating well throughout the process. You may be wondering why 75 and 50%? Well, assuming 50% is the mark between a clear plan and actual repairs being done, the 4 properties at 50% have a real plan. As I'm sure you know, those are 2 different owners who both continue to sit down with us with real plans drawn by a design professional. And because of that, we believe that they plan to occupy these buildings as soon as possible. The ones marked at 75% are mostly compliant. They just lack 1 or 2 small items being repaired. And again, we are in regular communication with those owners as well. And so for our code violations, we are not currently pursuing compliance through the court with these owners. Now, separately, I mentioned the vacant building registry. And as each of you know, the goal of this ordinance is not just safe buildings, but occupied buildings. And occupied buildings will demand safe buildings. So there are a few on this list that may be compliant with the violations that we originally tagged the building for, which are unsafe violations, but they are not in compliance with the newly adopted vacant building ordinance. Or they may have a good plan for occupancy, but for whatever reason, they have not pulled permits and acted on that plan, which places them, again, in violation of our adopted ordinance. And I'll note, our staff has not completed addressing all vacant buildings, but we are working as quickly as possible to do so. Next slide, please. This slide is altogether different. It is a list of all the properties that have either failed to correct the unsafe violations, or we've only had one meeting with the owner. More on that in just a moment. But ironically, the one building that is in full compliance on this chart is one of the ones that has only had one meeting with us. That's 750 Pearl. But in this chart, we have 15 different buildings, but only 5 different owners are represented here. And as indicated by the key, you will see how we are pursuing compliance with each of them. 4 of the 5 have either not made repairs or they have not met with us asking for more time. So as a result, we have filed charges on 8 different buildings. And then keep in mind, separate from this, 9 are in violation of the vacant building ordinance, and we have sent letters of notice to them. And then on top of that, there is normal code enforcement still going on, continuing throughout downtown, and letters of violation for general blight issues such as weeds, debris, and other things like that. But just to overly clarify this, we now have 3 different things happening at once. Next slide, please. Life safety in these buildings is our only concern. We are pushing for occupancy because we want safety. On the screen, you see a picture of the Gilbert building from this past summer. We are now 6 months after the fire and less than 30 days away from the agreed upon completion date for structural repairs to be completed. Despite this, no building permit for repairs or restoration has been applied for. The owner has let us know that his engineer is out of the country and they will be asking to move their agreed upon January 2025 deadline to sometime in the future. But as of now, staff does not know what that requested new deadline might be. Regardless, a hearing will be scheduled for early January 2025 to discuss the missed deadline. I believe it's also important to note that those repairs will only get us back to what we originally tagged, which is an unsecure vacant building. We have seen no plan for any true renovation of this building, but we will continue to press for it. Next slide, please. The good news is that the majority of the 14 owners have sat down with us and had fruitful conversations about how they can move forward. And just to remind you of why this initiative began, almost a year ago. Our target was unsafe structures, which provides a clear definition for us to address life safety requirements within our adopted building codes. Secondly, we've worked with the owners to clarify what bringing an existing building up to code means. Our adopted existing building code provides remarkable flexibility for the necessary repairs being made by these owners. So with that, and just to point out the link between them, Item 13 on today's agenda was a continuation of this effort, amending the permitted use table to create more turnkey businesses downtown. And lastly, and you'll see this in the last slide, which I'm about to get to, those that have communicated with us have typically stepped quickly into compliance and stayed out of the filing process. We will always offer extensions where we see progress being made, and I've even sat down with municipal court recently to ensure that we are only filing charges on the properties that demonstrate an unwillingness to make the repairs that are necessary. My staff has and will continue to communicate clear expectations to each and every property owner that we work with. So one more slide that I think will demonstrate all this very well. Next slide, please. So this chart shows 13 of the 14 owners in total, categorized by how well communication has gone. So there's only one property seen at the top that we are still having trouble identifying the owner. And so that building is obviously not in compliant. Then you have 3 owners that have had 1 meeting with us. And of those 3, only 1 of those buildings is fully compliant. But 9 of the 13 owners are communicating regularly with us. And as you can see, are nearly 100% compliant as a group. That's what we want to highlight. We still have a lot of work to do. We don't want to pretend like we don't. But we're going to continue to walk alongside these owners to help make downtown somewhere we all want to spend time. But the majority of these owners are doing great things to that end. So thank you guys for your leadership in this process. And before I ask if you have any questions for me, I do have one for you. Is it the will of the council to continue these updates every 6 months? Or excuse me, 6 weeks. Thank you.
I believe it is, yes. Thank you. Good report. Councilman Getz and then Councilman Durio.
If you go back to the last slide, you said there's one building that we cannot or have not been able to yet identify who the owner is.
Yes, sir.
What is that building?
Give me 1 second. I have that information. I believe it is 715 Orleans. It's next to Richard Engineering, right across from Municipal Court.
Okay. Another question. First, thank you for this very good report. As I am digesting what you said, it looks to me like many of the building owners are working with your department. And they represent a number of buildings, but that there's maybe one building owner that is not working with your department, but that one building owner represents roughly half the buildings that are at issue. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Councilman Durio.
Oh, you said you had one building that you haven't been able to find the owner. How long do you look for the owner? And when you reach the end of that time, what's the next step?
Speak to that process.
Yeah, so right now we're obviously looking for the owner, trying to go through deed records and whatnot. If it comes to a point where we just cannot identify anyone, then obviously we'll work with our legal department to make sure that we move in the correct order. But we're just going to follow the state statutes on what we're allowed to pursue there.
So if that building needs to be boarded up, is that something that we can do?
It is. That building in particular, the open windows are not accessible. They're on a second or maybe even a third floor. So unlike some of the other ones that we deemed an imminent danger because of the breaking and entering, we didn't feel this one was. But it is something that we can do if we feel it's necessary.
Okay. And when you said you have to, some of them, I guess you said you file charges. What happens when you file charge? I guess they go to municipal court.
That's correct.
And,
Yes, sir.
are they issued fines or what? And how much are the fines?
So once we file charges, and would you like me to?
Municipal court is fine only, so there's no retribution there. But in filing charges, they do have an opportunity to bring the building into compliance or make those changes in lieu of being assessed a fine. The window fine, I believe, starts at $500, and it can go up to $2,000 depending on the violation.
And one last question on the Gilbert building. I mean, you spoke on that, but is that still considered, I guess, dangerous? And is it still a possibility that it needs to be demolished?
The engineer of record is still working on assessing it, and he is currently out of the country and has not responded and given us a definitive answer on that. But that is what they are working to do, is get us a definitive answer. That report has been delayed. They are still working on their shoring efforts and making sure everything is where they can create an accurate plan, but they have yet to get that to us.
So they're actually physically shoring up those walls right now?
So they are providing the scaffolding and shoring just to clear out all of the debris that has that was damaged in the fire, so that they can determine how extensive the damages are. So we still don't have that report from the engineer.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Samuel?
Yes, you stated you have one owner that owns majority of the property downtown, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is that owner in the chart as to, they've met with you to present plans for the future, or is that one owner not been participating in the meetings?
That owner in particular, we've had several meetings with, but we have not seen any real plans.
And what is the next step?
Well, each building is being treated separately, and so is there a specific building?
No, no specific building. But are we seeing progress on any of the buildings?
Of those 11?
Yes.
No, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Getz?
Can we go back to the slide of those 11, just so that I'll have them in my mind? No. The one that's bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilman Neal?
Yes, and that's a bit of a, perhaps you could speak to this, but they are keeping up with the taxes, but the owner that is listed is deceased.
So in that particular property, the owner is deceased. There's someone obviously paying the taxes. There's no probate on the estate file to say who the heirs or the owner should be. So there's really, as long as the property's paid, in the name of the deceased.
Demolition coordinator, Silas Clutter, he actually just reported that he was able to make contact with that owner about an hour ago.
All right. The recess helped us get there, so thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we're going to begin with council member comments, and I will begin with Councilman Neal. Councilman Samuel?
Yes, Mayor. I've received numerous calls in the last couple of weeks asking about my plans for the future. And with that, this will be my last term as a ward councilman on Ward 3. I'm not running for re-election. However, I've seen a great deal of progress made over the past couple of years. And I'm somewhat concerned about how that will continue into the future. And because of that, I will be running for city council at large. That's my desire.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Felshaw?
Condolences to the former Mayor Evelyn Lord family, and also just a thank you to Emily Wheeler and her staff for just a great program with the lighting of the Christmas tree. They always do a phenomenal job, and I heard citizens talking, and it was just a great night and a great event. So thank you, Emily, and your staff.
Thank you, Councilman Felshaw. Councilman Turner?
Yes, I'd like to shout out Mayberry Movers. This year we did our 10th annual Hoops for Toys where, you know, me as a council member, I collaborated with the Beaumont Police Department. We played a community basketball game, and in order to enter, you had to bring a toy. And we had a list of parents who were struggling during Christmas, and they had the opportunity to collect some of those toys to take care of their family. So I partnered with Mayberry Movers and the Beaumont Police Department. So I want to thank you guys for the support. It came out well. We collected well over 150 toys and blessed over 150 families. So I just wanted to shout out everybody who participated in that. Secondly, I'm requesting that we can do some form of a budget workshop on the next meeting. I specifically want to talk about a zero-based budget. I want to talk about our bond rating, and I want to talk about our general fund. I've been getting calls from different people in the community, and instead of talking about it privately, I think it'd be a great opportunity to talk about it publicly and really get into the logistics of where we at on everything. So if someone can give me a second, I would greatly appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Councilman Turner. Councilman Getz?
I also want to shout out to our Beaumont Events Department and Emily Wheeler for an incredible Christmas tree lighting. The drone show was amazing, just amazing. Just not just the children, but adults were, looking in wonder at the artistry that was created by these aerial drones. Just well done, and we're going to have a Hanukkah menorah lighting later this month on the 30th, and hope to see people attend that also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Getz. Councilman Durio?
Oh, yes, first, Mr. Manager, we could look into the, Mr. Jerome talked about the warming stations for this coming winter. Make sure that we got that ready whenever that weather turns cold for the folks that's outside. We could look into that. Also, this past weekend, we had an oratorical contest at my American Legion post. Mr. Carden Bond did, he's a member of the Student City Council. He done quite well, and he's moving on to the next level. Thank the mayor, Mr. Williams, and the city attorney. They were judges in the contest, and they done a really good job. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Bart, is this your last meeting? Well, Bart, man, congratulations on your new job. I really enjoyed working with you. I almost feel like I'm an engineer compared to when I first came on this job. I really learned a whole lot. I really did. And I'm sure you're gonna do a great job over there in Bridge City. Also, congratulations to Molly. I understand she's gonna be your interim replacement. And one other thing, I'm proud, I got a new addition to the Durio family. I just had a Sunday, this past Sunday, a brand new baby granddaughter, Naila Amy Rose Durio. And I just got a picture. She's going home from the hospital today. So that's it.
Outstanding. Congratulations. Thank you, Councilman Durio. Mr. Barkowiak, and congratulations to you on your new opportunity.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank y'all in the city of Beaumont and in general, the citizens, council, most especially all the employees that I've had the benefit of working with over the years. It's been a great group of people and a very fantastic group that I'm working with now. So y'all are in good hands as far as the people within Public Works, but I have grown personally and professionally over the years and appreciate my time here at the city of Beaumont. So it's somewhat bittersweet as I head on to Bridge City, but thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to first give condolences to Mayor Lord and her family. Bart, I am going to miss you. I'm almost in tears, but I'm not going to cry. I want to congratulate Molly on being appointed as the interim Public Works Director as well. And congratulations, Councilmember Durio, on your baby girl.
Yes, Mr. City Manager.
I'd also like to acknowledge Ms. Cheryl Ray, who's our next meeting, she won't be here, so I would like to thank Cheryl for her service and working here at the city of Beaumont. I appreciate it. And again, I'd like to acknowledge Bart too. I didn't have the pleasure of working with Bart long, but he's the ultimate professional. He does an outstanding job, and he'll do great as our city manager. Having been president of Texas City Managers Association, we're always looking for good city managers. But Bart, be careful what you ask for, trust me. What you're doing now is a whole lot different than what you will be doing. But we're very, very proud of you. Just keep on, and you're going to bigger things even than Bridge City. Congratulations.
All right, and certainly I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, because our next meeting will be January 7th. Certainly extend our condolences to Mayor Lord's family, and that was a beautiful service today, and she had prepared everything about it. So so that was very appropriate for those that knew her. Certainly thank you, Bart, for your service. Congratulations to Councilman Durio. Christmas lighting with the drones and fireworks was epic. And it was a great night for the city of Beaumont and for all that were there. And with that, we're going to recess into executive session. Thank you.